Hello. So off we go for this seventh video of our series dedicated to the astronomic foundations of astrology. So let me remind you what we've seen in the previous 6 videos. We've seen a lot of things. We've explored the armillary sphere and understood the geometry of the sky, which has enabled us to understand the dynamic of the 12 signs of the zodiac, and also the dynamic of these signs amongst themselves. And you can see them here, or we've added a lot of things here. The planets around the zodiac, the 10 planets, or 9 planets plus the sun. And we've also added what is known as the astronomical horizon, the map of the astronomical horizon, which is very important in astrology, and you'll understand why in a moment. The aim today is going to be to understand the movements of the sky. The movements of the sky, yes, that are something that is key in the in astrological interpretation. So first of all, let's look at the 10 planets around the zodiac. So in astrology, at the time of birth of an individual, we're going to say let's say that it's the time of birth of our little figurine here, and we're going to look at where the planets are on the zodiac. So at the time of birth of an individual, we look at the position of the sun, the moon, and the other planets around the zodiac. With software today, you know, all this is drawn. You can see your position of the planets, which is much easier than was the case, you know, in antiquity. So Have got my little figurine here. He's in the northern hemisphere. If you recall, the northern hemisphere, Tropic of Cancer, sign of Cancer. So I'll place it here. So you've got the pole star. And so he's born in the northern hemisphere, let's say somewhere around Paris latitude in the northern hemisphere. So we've placed our character here in the astronomical horizon. So the astronomical horizon of our little character here is also that of Paris. I don't know if it's clear to you here, but this astronomical horizon of Paris really cuts the celestial globe into 2. And that is something that's very important. In fact, you can see that it cuts the celestial globe into 2, and therefore defines 2 main regions of the celestial sphere. Or in fact cuts the Earth sphere into 2. So you've got 2 main regions of the celestial sphere. The region that is above the horizon, the astronomical horizon of our little character, so above Paris, and the area, the region that is below the horizon, below the astronomical horizon of Paris. So 2 very well-defined areas, and so, you know, the zodiac is cut into 2. One part of the zodiac is above our horizon, above our astronomical horizon, and so part of the zodiac that our little character here can actually see because it's above the astronomical horizon, and there's part of the zodiac here, this part here, that is below the astronomical horizon, and so it's the other side of the Earth. It's the other side of the horizon of our little character here. So our little character here cannot actually see this part of the zodiac. So an astronomical horizon that cuts the sphere into 2, above the horizon, below the horizon, and it also cuts the horizon into 2, one above the horizon and one half below it. So these are absolute essentials in tropical astrology. So we're also going to position our 4 directions. So the northern direction, I'm going to remove that. I'm going to place the north here. So the North Star on our horizon, we can position it here, the north, you know, that is related to the North Pole. The south on the opposite side, obviously the opposite to the north, and facing and the South Pole, the celestial South Pole, on our horizon. So I'll place it this way so you can actually see it. And then the east is going to be defined as a point on the horizon that crosses the astronomic horizon and the point where the sun crosses the spring equinox. So this defines the east of our astronomical horizon. So I could also show the west, but that's already quite a lot of things placed on our memory sphere. So we're going to just use the three directions for now. Obviously, the west is on the opposite of the east. So we've got the four directions here. There's something important that we already mentioned, is the movement of the zodiac is clearer. It goes from east to west. It rotates, around our little individual here. Let me remind you that, it revolves within 24 hours. So it sees all the planets within that 24-hour period. So, on the 2D map, as I mentioned in a previous video, an astrologer uses a 2D map. The map of the sky of the astrologer is represented as if you were looking at the celestial sphere from the North Pole. That's very important. And so, with this representation, the east is to the left of the map of the sky of the astrologer. Okay, so remember this movement, east to west. It is very important when interpreting, the birth chart. So let's look at the movement of the planets. So the zodiac rotates from east to west, whereas the planets rotate from west. Sorry, I don't remember what I said. East to west for the zodiac, and the planets follow the signs of the zodiac from west to east, so the apparent movement from the Earth. So let me give you an example. The moon, for instance. The moon's movement is very complex. It's complex to figure out where it is. It's a very complex movement when you don't have this representation of the sky in 3D, because it progresses very rapidly in the zodiac. It goes from one sign to another in a couple of days. So it progresses in the zodiac. And what is very, disturbing with the moon, and you might have noticed if you've observed it at the same time a few days in a row, is that it's going to be at different heights in the sky. And that is explained by, if you look here, if you look at it on a Monday at 6 in the evening, and it will be here. And if you look at it again 5 days later, and it will be there, you can see the height, compared to the horizon of our little individual here, is going to be very different. So not only does the moon move very quickly across the zodiac, its latitude will change very rapidly also. And of course, which is far easier to understand, is the quarters, the relationship with the sun. So the moon really is the symbol of change, the symbol of cycles, the symbol of, change in moods and emotions, because it changes all the time and at very many different levels. So you will see that this movement of the planets in the zodiac, east to west, is very important in astrology in order to interpret these various things. What happens, the predictions are based on that, and transits are based on that. And it's important to distinguish this movement, the movement of the zodiac, the movement of the planets on the zodiac. So once we've got this, we could think, okay, we can leave it at that. At the time of birth of our little individual here, you had the planets of the zodiac that were in such and such a sign. It's perfect. We'll take our zodiac, we can project all these positions, as you have here, and you can start doing astrology. Yes, but no, in actual fact you cannot do that because there's something that's missing. Take a look. Take this group of planets here that's around the sun. At the birth of our individual who's at this particular place, you've got this group of planets here, but it could be above our individual, or they could be below the horizon of our individual. It could be to the east of our individual. I mean, basically what I'm saying is you need to give the astrologer more information about which part of the zodiac is where in relationship to our individual. So we have to take into account the position of the zodiac with regard to the Earth, with regard to the individual, so in relation to the Earth and to this astronomical horizon. So that complicates matters somewhat, because here all we had were the planets that we had to position around the Earth. So you've got the 2D representation, nice and easy. But what you have to do is to convey a 3D representation on a 2D map, so the astrologer's map, and keep this information, the position of the zodiac in relation to the Earth, in relation to the individual. And that is the new thing that we have to do. And so here the ascendant comes into it, and the descendant, and I'm not going to tell you any more than that for now. I will explain this in the next video. So thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye bye.